Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, your host for today for the Paranormal Dolls. Moon Girl is traveling, so I am working while she's having fun. Anyway, I have two great guests on here tonight, and one is Kell, and the other one is Michael. Welcome.
Hiya.
How,
Hello.
how are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
I'm
Good,
doing well.
good. So, Kel, tell us about you.
Okay. I'm Kell Ridley. I'm from the northeast of England, a place called Newcastle upon Tyne, which technically makes us a Geordie. So I speak a little bit different to some of the British accents that you get over there. I've been a paranormal investigator, I would say, oh God, since 2013, I started in a team. But before that, what got us interested in the paranormal was I basically flatlined during an operation when I was 6 years old. So from then on, my mum said that I basically used to talk to people that wasn't there and I knew stuff that I couldn't have possibly knew. And I seen my first apparition when I was 10 years old. And from then on, it was just, I just love it. Absolutely love anything to do with a strange, unusual, paranormal. And a few years ago, I started my own team. I'm a historical researcher as well, so I've been doing history since I was at school, especially the British history and stuff like that. The Tudor era is my favourite, so I decided to combine my two loves and become a historical researcher for a paranormal team. Then I made my own paranormal team about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Um, I was on TikTok doing TikToks to try and build up my confidence, and I bumped into a guy called Stephen Woodard, who was one of the owners of the Parallax Network, and he convinced us to do a show with him, which I did. I didn't want to, but he sort of convinced us to do it, which I'm grateful for him doing that now. And that's what led us to do this, because I never ever thought I would do like podcasting or anything like that. So yeah, he was the one that got us into it, but I left that show. And then I decided to do another one, and that's when I met up with Michael, and we decided to do one together. And yeah, we're out today.
Well, it sounds like you got out of your comfort zone and you broadened your road there, which is good.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm a Pisces. I like long. No, I'm just kidding.
Long walks
So,
on the beach.
so I got into the paranormal pretty much when I was 2. I had a paranormal experience, and I grew up seeing shadow beings all the time, and just thought nothing of it, and really wasn't into the paranormal. And then in 2019, someone messaged me from Facebook while I was at a conference and said, "Do you want to join our paranormal team?" And my only experience with paranormal was being a part of the Facebook group at this time, Ghost Ship Hunters. And I was like, you mean people actually do go out and investigate stuff like this? This is real? And they were like, yeah. And so pretty much almost like as soon as I got home from the conference, I was off on my first paranormal investigation at Yorktown Memorial Hospital. And then I was hooked, and let's see, we're in 2023 now. So I think it was 3 years ago, Stephen Woodard asked me if I wanted to do a show. And I said to him, in all honesty, I'm like a few months into this paranormal field. I don't know anybody. Nobody's going to be interested in me. And so I turned him down. And then last year, we were at a Para Unity event. And how the story went was he was doing a live, and I had just gotten onto the live and kind of introducing myself to everyone when I had to step away to show someone something. And when I came back, he was all packed up and said, "Don't worry about it. We'll get you your airtime." And he then says, "By the way, we still have room if you want to do a show." And I was like, "Really?" And went and talked to a friend of mine. And we were like, "Yeah, let's do it. We'll do a show." And so we were taking meticulous time to make it a perfect show. And Steven comes up to me the second to last week of July and says, "You need to launch your show next week or we can't have you on the network because Facebook is about to do changes."
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "We are nowhere near ready. We're in like month 1 of 3 of getting everything together. We don't have nothing prepared." And I said to him, "Let me get back to you." So I go to Carla Norris, who was my original co host, and said to her, "This is the situation. We either launch next week or we have to wait." And I said, "They said it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't need this. We don't need that." And launched. And the show we were comfortable with it, but we were getting a lot. It was called Exploring Our Secret Past, I think. And everybody kept wondering what the secret was. And it's like the name didn't really fit. So we rebranded it to The Energy That Surrounds Us, which has been a huge success. And it's been a lot of fun. And meanwhile, while we were rebranding, Kell, as she mentioned, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to do a show?" And I was like, "Well, what would the show be?" And we were pitching ideas back and forth, and we were like, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's see." And that's where Paranormal Versus was born, and we are coming up on our 28th episode in a couple of weeks or next week. I don't even.
Yeah.
It's blurring together. But yeah, and it's been a huge, great experience. And hosting with Kell, one of the funny things was when she was on Closing the Gap with Steven, I would be like messaging Kell and saying, "Hey, you did really great. You sounded great." And she's like, "You could understand me?" And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Nobody can understand my accent." And I was like, "I understood you just fine."
One of the millions. Apparently, everybody understands us now, just not a couple of people.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we have had a couple of episodes to where I have to translate.
That's true. Yeah.
But we try to keep it lighthearted and fun, but still bring really interesting topics.
Mm.
Good.
Yeah.
So, what kind of topics? The audience, I'm sure, would love to hear more.
Michael?
Let's see. We've done near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
We have done
UFOs?
We did UFOs. We did one episode on the flat Earth theory, and we've done paranormal equipment. We had a equipment maker on.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a lot of paranormal investigators.
Mediums.
We had Mike Heston Rogers on from Fire in the Sky.
Nice.
So that was a lot of fun to hear about that story and set some of the records straight.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good. So, Now, you said you had your first paranormal experience at the age of 2, which
Yeah.
is really nice because the first one that I talk about is at right before the age of 2.
Mhm.
I had it before that. I still remember, but everybody used to look at me and go, "You were just like a year and a half. How can you remember?"
Mm.
When it's something like that, and then you start realizing, it just clicks in and stays in your brain. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not.
It really does.
Yeah, it's something very big. So,
Hmm.
um, can you talk about that paranormal experience, Michael?
Yeah. I was at a friend's house playing hide and seek.
Okay.
We were playing hide and seek in the dark, and I thought I had seen her go into one of the back bedrooms. So I went in there, and what I thought I seen was my friend sitting with her back against the wall, hugging her knees.
Hmm.
And then I thought, well, that's a bit weird. She was wearing clothes before. Now she's wearing a nightdress. And so I she started crying, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with her? So I went to like put my hand on her to say, are you okay? And my hand went straight through her. And that's when I was like, hang on a minute, this is not normal. So I just basically hightailed it out there. Told my mum, and my mum told one of the neighbours, and the neighbour had lived there like all her life. And she
Mm.
turned around and she says, there was a little girl that died in that back bedroom, the one I was in, a smoke inhalation off a fire that was in the house in the 1950s.
Ooh.
So I'm convinced that that's the little girl that I've seen.
Mm. Very interesting.
Mm.
And Michael, your first actual that you want to speak about.
So my experience at 2, I like to share because it kind of ties into too why I love being a paranormal investigator.
Hmm.
And bless Kell's heart, she's heard this so many times.
And you've heard mine as well.
So when I was 2, my memory was I was in the attic and I fell through a vent shaft to where my eyebrow got cut on a wire
Ooh.
and landed on a concrete basement with no broken bones, no bruises, nothing. And then I was like, okay. And I remember as a teenager going, okay, now I remember this person in white who helped me when I was falling. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, and I remember having a large conversation in a matter of seconds to where I was talking with the spirit that helped me and saying, if I'm going to help people, if I'm going to do, all this work to help people, I need access to my abilities. I need access to this and that. And then I was like, I woke up. And so I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting here thinking as a teenager going, how at 2 did I have awareness to have that kind of a conversation with a spirit? And then we had Catherine Sorlos on the show, and I had her on my Tuesday night show, The Energy That Surrounds Us, and she was telling me there was a second spirit that came, and one of the spirits pulled me down, and that's why I fell. It was an accident. They grabbed my arms, and I fell in.
Mm.
And I say accident because I don't know if they were pulling me in or if they, were grabbing my arms and I just flinched and fell by mistake. But she said, yeah, and one came to help me be safe from the other one. And then later on, my mom goes, you were never in the attic. You were on the second story of the house. You were not in the attic. You were on the second level, but you did fall to the basement.
Wow.
And so it's like I'm learning more and getting more pieces to the puzzle. And that's why I say, it's great being a paranormal investigator is because that's what we do is we get a piece
Hmm.
And then through investigations, we get another piece and start to formulate a story. Then another piece comes in, and it's like now you get a big picture, and you're like, so this is what really happened.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have discovered that sometimes history books don't mention all the details, but
Mm-hmm.
if you ask the spirits, they will give you their true story. So.
Right. And the thing with history that people forget, and if you major in history, they teach you this, and it's like their way of kind of helping you understand is history is written by the victors. So if you do things you don't want known and you win, you can erase them from history and nobody's the wiser.
That's true.
Very true, very true. Funny, but very true. Um,
And one of the interesting pieces too is Kell had asked me, because she knows I do genealogy, if I could run her genealogy. And come to find out, she's a descendant of Robert the Bruce of Scotland.
Yeah.
And so for, I think, was it like 3 or 4 months, you had Her Royal Highness on your
Yeah.
tag for the shows?
Yeah, I think it was about 3 or 4. Actually, I think I've only just removed it in the last month or something. I'm the 22nd great granddaughter of Robert the Bruce, so yeah.
okay.
And one of my ancestors was Corn in the Red, who was murdered by Robert the Bruce to take guardianship of Scotland. And so everybody was like on the show, like going, Michael, you might want to be careful around Kell. History can repeat itself.
Yeah, it certainly does. See, I wasn't a bouncer for 20 years, Michael, without like obviously picking up some tips.
I know. So I've learned to tread lightly around Kell.
Okay, okay.
No, we
Now,
just have fun with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course. But
That's
now that it's in the open, if she does something or something happens to you, they're going to be looking
Wow.
at her.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
I forgot about that.
It's kind of like I got guaranteed safety now.
Yeah.
I got a bodyguard now.
Oh boy. So
Yeah.
you guys got together, started this show, and where do you see yourselves going? What direction?
Ooh, I like Kell answer this one.
Yeah, America for me. No, with the show, obviously bigger, better. A bigger range of people coming on, guests. And then maybe doing some obviously on location lives and stuff like that. But we're going to make a few changes because the second season's coming up in January, so we're making a few changes, adding a few things, taking away a few things, but we're not going to say what that is just yet until we launch it. So, but yeah, I can see we're like exchanging places as well, like Michael coming over here to investigate, me going over there to investigate, that sort of thing.
That'd be very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So it's now. Have you been to the U.S. before, Cal?
I was meant to be over for Halloween, but my daughter had my granddaughter in around about that time, so I basically but I'm getting married in July, so I can't come then. So we're thinking about going after that. So fingers crossed. But we've got Michael coming over for the wedding, so that should be fun.
Nice.
Yeah, can't miss that. I mean, I never hear the end of it.
Oh, you wouldn't? I'll drag you over by your feet if I have to.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Michael, in your life, did you have to hide the fact that you were seeing spirits, or basically your parents were open to it?
So the interesting thing was my parents were open to it, and we had a few family friends that were open to it, but everybody else around me was like, nope, not wanting to hear about it. No, it's like I could even hint about it, and they'd be like, nope. And so I've been kind of grew up quiet about what I can do and see and everything, and it wasn't until probably the last 5, 6 years that I've started slowly coming more public with what I can do and experiences that I've had that I've kind of been cautious about sharing because growing up in the well, I say growing. Oh yeah, I did grow up in the Bible Belt of Texas. You just learn really quick there are some things you just can't say publicly.
Yeah, and it becomes dangerous for you if you do, for
Oh,
sure.
definitely, because and I mean, because people like when you work at certain places, they expect a certain persona, and so anything that challenges that, then they kind of a lot of places are like, yeah, what? Let's rethink your employment here, and it's like it's a serious thing, and it's like it's kind of sad in a way because so many opportunities are missed
Hmm.
because of people's stigmas that are sometimes I find not even based in reality. And that's one of the things that I think Kell and my show does that people are gravitating towards is we're like slowly chipping away at the into those cracks of that
Hmm.
stigmas and saying, look, this isn't what you think it is. This isn't at all what you're saying it is. It's and they're starting to go, oh, well, let me rethink this then, and opening eyes.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's very good, and it's important because so many people are still in that box,
Yeah.
and all they see is straight on. They don't even look at anything that goes on, so they didn't even know that they have sidewalls. But now you're a Reiki master,
I am.
and you do tarot cards and palm readings. So tell us a little bit about that,
So, okay, for the record is I can read tarot and oracle cards. I
right?
used to read them more often, but I've kind of shifted focus more into the paranormal field for a little bit, but I still can read them when I
Mm-hmm.
need to. And growing up, I felt like I didn't really belong here, and so I tried to learn stuff that I thought might help me to fit in better. And so my mind thought, well, what's something unique? And so I learned Huna magic, I learned paganism, I learned um, gypsy palm reading. I took one course, didn't really take, so kind of decided that one was too difficult to remember. So, and then it was a matter of, just learning too, because I had a family situation to where most of my family and my two sisters and I just grew apart and didn't believe the same things. And so they disappeared out of my life. And so for the longest time, I thought it must have been something that I'd done.
Mm.
So I took it as, well, let me learn what I did wrong and try and fix it, and found that I finally said to myself, I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And it's not me, it's on them. But of course, you know, that was like 30 years later and a lot of metaphysical studies.
Mm-hmm.
But now I realize I don't believe that it was by accident that I learned what I learned, because a lot of it helps me in the paranormal to where I will hear a voice and I will go towards the voice to
Mm-hmm.
communicate with the voice, where other people would be running from the voice. And so I don't have the fear of walking into a haunted location, and I trust my instincts enough that when my instincts, you know, like I call it a spidey sense,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, something's here, and I'll be looking around, and if it starts getting too uncomfortable, I'll just step outside and be like, okay, what's going on? Or if I feel like something's like following me around and wants to communicate, but it's not able to communicate, I will just stop and say, look, we can talk. You don't have to be like super creepy and stalkish and all of this. You know, we talk through these devices, or come and find me at this point and we can do it. And astral traveling, I found, helps too, being able to do that, because
Mm-hmm.
then it gives you like another avenue of communicating with people. And
Right. Right. And I have learned through that experience of astral traveling that if you're doing it while you're awake, basically, you could go into a haunted location and kind of meet them there, because sometimes they just can't come down to your energy level,
Hmm.
which is I've discovered is very interesting how different it is speaking to them that way. So maybe that's something that you may want to try, and right on location.
I definitely will. And we were discussing actually with Dr. Heather. I don't know if you remember, Kel, that we were discussing one of my paranormal experiences where I was on a battlefield,
Yeah.
and she pointed out to me that because all my senses were engaged,
Hmm.
that I had actually traveled back into that situation, and I was experiencing it firsthand as a witness to the event, not recalling history or memories. That she said I was physically there, and that episode really warped my mind a little bit. It took time to process because it's only happened twice in my life, but it's one of those where you're like, oh yeah, something's different, and I want to do this more, and how do I engage it more? And it's like there's no way really to practice that, though, to practice engaging all five senses in any event. So it's kind of trippy when you have it actually happen and you're like, man, why can't I do this more often?
Well, I, what helps me is setting the intention before I walked into the place.
Hmm.
And 99% of the times I have discovered that once I do that, I go there. And for example, a child could have lived there 200 years. I see the child, I see the house, how it was originally at that time. I experienced the weather, I experienced everything. So that may be a good thing because you could do it, obviously. So that's the only way you could practice, setting the intention before you go in.
Yeah, I'll have to try that, see
Yeah,
if it helps.
I'm sure it will. Um, Kel,
Yeah.
you go around your town or city where you live and look for places, or do you decide to go other places? How open
Uh,
is your town? I guess it would be.
it's very hard to get into locations now, because it's become so popular. You get people that want to just use the locations to make money. So
Mm,
there's a lot of people that tie the locations into that team, so nobody else can investigate in it. But I've managed to get some really cool locations. Um, God, there's just been that many that I've done, but we do private investigations also.
mhm.
So some of the best ones have been private locations, investigations. But there was one that it's it's like an old military base, and it holds it's a museum and holds like stuff from World War I and World War II, stuff that people were killed in. And it was also set on an old Roman town, I think it was, obviously during the Roman times. And so it's got that history about it as well. But that place, when you go in it, it's just like there's just seems to be conflicting energies everywhere.
Yeah.
It's that jam packed full of energies. But I seen something in the dark, and I'm thinking, right, okay, I've just seen something out the corner of my eye moving, and that definitely wasn't a shadow of anybody else. Nobody was around, so I took a photo. And then it wasn't until I got home, it was in the hangar where the World War II fire engines were kept. And when I've
Mhm.
looked at it, you can actually clearly see the outline of a World War II fireman with his helmet on, even the buttons on his breast jacket. Yeah, like I say, you can perfectly see him. So that was like one of the best things that I've captured so far. We've captured the usual like growls. I mean, I lived in a haunted house. It was a 300-year-old converted barn in like Northumberland, and that I had like weird things happening there all the time. My doorbell would ring just constantly in groups of three, like from 3 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the morning,
Mm.
and there was no way it could possibly do that. I even took the batteries out of the like transmitter thing in the house for it, and it still was keep ringing.
Mm.
And used to have the telly used to like switch on in the middle of the night. We used to blame the cats for that one though. But we used to have, you could hear somebody walking around the bedroom, you could hear the footsteps and walking around the bed. And I used to have a jewelry box that used to open and then slam shut. So, I mean, I moved from there because I was splitting up with my ex partner, but I would love to have stayed there just for the investigations. But
Mm.
like I say, but like I say, that we have had quite a few places down here of interest. But like I say, it's pretty hard to get hold of them over here because, like I say, people just want to make money out of them, which I don't think's fair.
Right. The only thing that I would say is if they want to make money, it would be to help the location
Mm-hmm.
maintain the place,
Yeah,
not for personal gain, which is
exactly.
what a lot of places unfortunately are
Yeah,
going through right now.
yeah.
So that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once, oh, your fiance, how does he feel about all this?
He's into the paranormal too, so
Okay.
he absolutely loves it. He's the one. He's part of my team, so he comes with us everywhere, and he's always on paranormal verses as well with me and Michael. If I can't do it because I've been bad health recently, so he'll jump on and take over my spot and help Michael. So yeah, he loves it. Absolutely loves it.
Good, 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 because it's very hard to do this stuff if your partner is not into it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
but uh, Michael, we I heard through the grapevines that you write articles.
Yes, I so in July I met with Chelsea, and she was doing a conscious collective newsletter, and she saw that I was in the paranormal, and so she was like, "Hey, would you like to write some articles?" And so in September, I had my first article published, which was kind of a introduction of me by, I called it a growing up in a metaphysical paranormal world, to where I shared some of my stories of, my past into the present, kind of an introduction piece. And she liked it, and she is a fan of the podcast shows. And so I've turned a lot of my paranormal experiences into articles for her, and she's kind enough to publish them on her newsletter. And one of the things that kind of surprised me is a lot of people have the notion of, like, a lot of our holidays, like Halloween, has always been what it is now. And so I did an article and said, here's the origin of Halloween and what it was originally called and how its name derived and where the traditions came from. And one of the traditions that kind of surprised me to learn is during the Halloween season, or Samhain, women who were single would bob for apples. And they would use the peels thrown behind them, and whatever letters were formed, that would be the initials of who they were supposed to meet. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, that is interesting, because nowadays everybody's bobbing for apples, and I doubt any of them know that's where that tradition started. And so I was like, wow, how cool is it to, bring awareness to where that tradition started. And she liked it so much that she said, can you do one for all the holidays? And so I wrote one for Thanksgiving. And I, being pagan and, metaphysical, I know Yule and Christmas, and I always thought they were the same holiday, just different name, and came to find out they're actually two different holidays that they have some common, but a lot of differences. And where a lot of the traditions of Christmas comes from, and when it became in December, why it was, I think I touched into why it was moved to December, but I try not to inundate, but because there was so much to explain about Yule and Christmas that I think the article ended up being like probably 15 pages long.
Wow.
And, I don't know. It was one of my longer ones, I'll say that. But I enjoy writing about my experiences and putting what I've learned with them in the articles. Mm-hmm. And so I was laughing with Chelsea that come January is the last big, like, experience thing that I have that's kind of had such a big impact on me that I don't know what I'm going to write after that one. And she laughed and goes, I'm sure you have things to come up with. And I'm like, I got to really think about it, because it's been real easy to look at and saying, oh, yeah, I had an experience in France. Yeah, let's write an article about that. Oh, I had an experience in, Rome. Let's write about that. Okay. And it's like, well, now what do I write?
I'm sure you could pick any place that you have investigated in the U.S., if nothing else.
Yeah, I might start doing articles about, working with Kell and do a tell-all expose.
Uh-oh.
Please don't. Please don't.
Let me know, because I'll be looking for that article. But
no,
so
Kell is awesome to work with. And
thank you.
One of the things I think people like us on screen is, one, we're authentically ourselves. Mm-hmm. two is we just go with the flow. It's like we're there for each other. We support each other, and if Kell can't make it and Matt can't make it, then we just simply postpone the episode or reschedule it at some point. But we don't ever say to each other, well, I'll do it without you guys, because it's a team effort and we are a team. And when we first started, I always would say I'm Kell's co-host, that it was her little jewel of a show that, I'm just blessed to be a part of. And it actually, jokingly aside, last month was when I started to actually take to heart what she had told me. And now I'm like, I am the host of Paranormal Versus along with Kell.
Yeah.
I no longer say I'm the secondary guest host. And
yeah.
so,
well, it's both a team effort, really, isn't it?
Right. It is.
We all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses, and we're there and for each other. And one of the things, without saying too much, is like Kell was saying, with changes coming to the shows, we actually, in a meeting I came up with, and Matt and Kell liked the idea of, we each have a show where we showcase we each have our strengths showcased and help each other, to overcome the weaknesses that we have with the shows. And so the shows are going to somewhat have different flares now. We're each going to have our own episode that we're going to lead coming into the next season. However, though, we discussed it and we were like, the one thing we liked is Kell asked her questions, I asked my questions. It's free-flowing conversation.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're not changing that. That I promise everyone, that aspect of the show will stay the same.
Yeah.
Good. Before we go off too far, what's the name of the publishing? You said you write articles. Where?
Conscious Collective is the name of. It's a digital platform.
Okay. All right.
And I would give you the Facebook address, but so in all honesty, Facebook has put me on a temporary ban right now over a post of a Halloween event for Paranormal Versus, promoting the episode, and an episode with one of the hosts of Parapost Network, Matt Barron. So both of those have got me flagged and temporarily banned, so I cannot access Facebook right now. And I've appealed 3 times, so Facebook, if you're watching, please restore my status.
I would have been a lot more savage than that, Michael, and like begging them.
Well, I'm trying to be diplomatic. I mean, I've already inundated
You're not
them
like
with
me at
3
all, are you?
appeals.
Yeah, definitely not like me then.
I'm like, I've written 3. I've gone from polite to passive aggressive to aggressive appeals, going, look, can you give me a clue where we're standing right now?
Unfortunately, a lot of that is being handled by AI, which
I know.
You just have to sit and wait until somebody looks at it.
And the worst part is they say, okay, well, we reviewed, you'll hear about it through an email. And I finally clicked and found somewhere where it says I have 170 some days before I'll be permanently disabled, if not appealed, and they don't reverse their decision. I'm like, That's 6 months.
Wow.
That is too long.
That's ridiculous.
Wow. Wow. You might have to start another page. Just saying.
I try to start a new Facebook page,
Yeah.
and it goes, "We're having issues with registration. Please try again later." And I was like, "Wow, they
Oh.
really don't want me on Facebook right now."
Can I handle you,
Oh boy.
Michael?
Mm.
So Kel was nice enough to put a post on that said, "This is what happened," and so at least Paranormal Versus knows where I'm at, and a lot of my friends from the other show, the energy that surrounds us, I've been able to talk to them about it on phone and everything. And yeah, it's hard because I know, being a podcast host, and I'm sure you're aware of this too, that optics are everything. And so now that I've lost access to all of my guests, that it's like, yeah, this is going to be an interesting new season. When how am I going to be reaching people to let them know we're still around? We haven't disappeared.
Hmm.
Hmm. And that is why I like to collect emails.
I'm learning
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and I've tried to learn, and I got blindsided again before I could put it
Mm.
out there to a lot of them. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
But it's okay. You'll get it back. You will. So, Kel, what I hear you write and you make them into songs.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
My partner, my fiance, is a music producer, so he does a lot of music. He actually wrote the theme tune for Paranormal Verses. Um, so with him doing a lot of music, I used to write poems and that when I was younger, and then I decided to start turning them into songs. So far in the last, I would say, 6 months, I've wrote over 155 songs.
Wow.
So he's got a backlist of things he's got to go through to make music for. So
yeah.
yeah, just want
Nothing
to.
like, making the other side feel so lazy. I'm sitting here written 5 articles and going, I don't know what to write. And she's over there. I've written 150 songs.
Yeah, I've
Almost
I've written
either.
I've written a few about the paranormal and UFO experiences and stuff like that. Just I don't even know where it comes from half the time. It just, like I say, I just put pen to paper. Well, I don't put pen to paper. I'll put a few ideas down, and then the next thing I know, within 5 minutes, I have a song. So even me fiance is like, how the hell do you do that? I just don't understand.
Well,
I
you're
don't know
just
myself.
channeling what's coming to you. That's
Yeah,
all.
channeling a songwriter.
Well, let's face it, all artists are.
Hmm.
Those that paint, those that write songs, they're basically even music in itself. You're
Yeah.
channeling.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You're getting it from your higher self and you're just
Yeah.
sending it out to the world. So
Hmm.
She does more than just write music, too.
oh
Yeah.
she does.
I'm a crafter. I make things out of clay. Well, basically everything you can think of, I can make it. I can look at something, know how to make it. So what Michael's talking about that he likes I make is these little octopus with the eyes and the tentacles in a jar, like on a jar, and then the holding crystals and stuff like that. So
Nice.
he absolutely he always brings that up because he likes them. He's a good supporter.
So where could people find both of you? Obviously, Michael, you're going to have to be found through email right now.
Actually, I'm on TikTok
Okay.
and Instagram and Rumble and Truth Social and Telegram.
Okay.
But the easiest place to find me probably would be TikTok, because that's where
So
I'm more active now, because I can still promote things and still communicate with some people.
all right. So I'll add all the links up to the bottom of the description so everyone can find you. And what about you, Kel?
I'm on Facebook. Haha, Michael.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that. I'm sorry. That's why I picked her second.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook under Kell Ridley. And I've got 2 accounts on TikTok, one Kell Ridley and one Paranormal Kell for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay.
Um, I think that's about it, really. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
And
I'll
I've
add
been
that
meaning
one.
to ask Kel, is the Facebook group still going,
Yeah,
or
as
did
far as
that
I'm aware.
disappear?
No, it's still there.
Because I didn't remember if you did it or if I did it, and so I was like, huh.
Michael, even if you did it, but she's an admin, it would still continue.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I
You
need to get
disappeared.
admins on my show pages because I think they all just died with me. Because so I actually have 3 shows that I do, podcast shows,
Mm-hmm.
and we're looking at kind of merging some of them together. But so I do the energy that surrounds us, which is paranormal,
Mm-hmm.
anything paranormal, Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a special series that I do under that show called Tetsu Riding Through the Unknown, where it started out being my view of disclosure, of looking into topics that are kind of in the esoterics that are hidden from us that I feel
Mm-hmm.
like we should be discussing and bringing out in the public and know about. And it's kind of morphed into also my involvement in some of the disclosure projects that are hidden away. And so that's been interesting and a lot of fun to get to learn. And that'll be continuing into season 2 next
Okay.
year with a few changes.
And what
And
day is that?
those right now, currently, we're running whatever day the guest would be available because I felt like I was so new. I was at the mercy of the guest. And next season, I have taken it to where they will be on Wednesdays. And if I can't make Wednesday work, then I'll use a Thursday.
Okay.
And I will be doing at the end of this month a special episode on the last Thursday of the month saying a thank you to everyone who's been a part of the energy that surrounds us and riding through the unknown, being me, and kind of give a glimpse into what's coming next season. Kind of be like a end of the year special look into next year kind of episode.
Nice.
And then Paranormal Versus with Kell, which currently is every other Thursday in the afternoon for me, in the evening for her, because I took the opinion of, yeah, let's do it my afternoon so you're not up in the wee hours of the morning doing
Hmm.
Falling asleep, you mean?
Okay. All right. So we only have about 2 minutes left. Anything you want to say to our audience or
Please like and follow our Facebook and YouTube channels and shows. We appreciate everyone that supports us.
Certainly do.
well
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you both. It's been a pleasure and please stay on. And I just want to thank the audience as always for your support, for your following, and for your messages. And as always, blessings and much love. Bye.
Bye.